Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it. Hey guys, it's Adam here. Some of you might recall, back in October of 2017, I got a trip out to Tokyo. My flight was covered, my hotel was covered, it was great. So while I was there, I decided to make the best of it. I went to various stores, and I'm going to be doing videos on those things. In this case, what I did was I went down to Akihabara, or Akihabara, however you like to pronounce it. I'm sure this is like nerd mecca to a lot of people. To me, it was fine. It's not the kind of place that would break you, in my opinion. It's cool, don't get me wrong, but I really didn't care all that much about going there. It was just kind of neat to see game stores and stuff like that. But I will say, it's not really the kind of place to go if you actually want to buy things. It's the kind of place to go if you just want to see the spectacle. But anyway, the thing that we ended up going to was this. This is Super Potato, of course. This is a very infamous game store. Multiple floors, two of which are game store, and the third one is an arcade. So the fifth floor is an arcade. 3 and 4 are actually the actual store. So I thought I would just go ahead and show you guys some footage of what the inside of the store looked like, at least at the time I was there. Please note that you guys might get a little annoyed with me during this footage because I had to be kind of quick about it. They are kind of clear on their policy that you're not really supposed to film footage in the store. And so what I did was very guerrilla style, or at least when the guy wasn't looking, you know what I mean? So I do apologize for the shakiness. This wasn't like, other places where I had the potential to ask, or at least they said it was fine. In this case, it was just, guerrilla style. So you guys can get kind of a sense of some of the stuff there. Now, obviously, I know most of you probably aren't too familiar with the yen conversion rate. The US dollar, at least at the time I record this, is about 109 yen to a dollar. So you can kind of think of it as 100 yen being about 89 cents or so. It's usually around there. 108 to a dollar is kind of what they strive for, but it adjusts as, it would make sense. So, so if you see something for 100 yen, that's basically 89 cents. You can think of it that way. So just do math anytime you see some cool stuff. But as you can see, Super Potato has a lot of great stuff because they're like the center for that. So anything really cool or rare that you want to see, Super Potato is probably your best bet to find it. But be warned, there is a big financial price that goes with that. This store mostly appeals to foreigners. I don't even recall seeing any actual Japanese people in the store other than the employees. Everyone was, hey, I'm from Detroit. Hey, I'm from, Austin, Texas. Everybody's from the US usually, because they're basically just foreigners who come in and want to buy stuff. And this is the one they know because this is the one everyone talks about, and it's in, downtown Tokyo and stuff. So to me, it was just part of the spectacle. They really, with a couple of exceptions, which you guys will see towards the end of the video, I didn't really buy a whole lot at this place. I'd been to other Super Potatoes in the past down in Osaka, and those were kind of the same deal, where it's really cool to see all that stuff, but from a financial perspective, it's just irresponsible. Here, for example, these are those two right there, the red one and the one on the right, the golf one, are the two rarest games for the Nintendo 64 DD. And if you do the math on that, it's like $400 each for each game. Not both, for each. And that's because they're super impossible rare. But of course, they had both of them. It's like if you have the money, this is the place that's going to have the item. But you have to have the money. This caught my eye because I don't remember RPS2's having this. There was a weird expansion dock back there. My buddy ended up buying these. These are rewritable Game Boy cartridges. And you guys, I'm sure have noticed all sorts of insane items as we've gone along here, various consoles and things, including that Mega Drive 3. I was actually legitimately curious if anybody knew what that was. That I know we had a Genesis 3. I didn't know that Japan had a different thing, or if that's some weird clone, or what the hell that actually was. So if anybody has information on what that was, let me know. Big MSX section for those of you who are into that. Very cool. And of course, a lot of Neo Geo stuff, as you guys have seen throughout. As would be expected, you have big sections of PlayStation games, as well as Nintendo stuff. One thing I noticed, although it didn't really apply too much at this store, is that a lot of Sega stuff seems to be dwindling over there. I used to, at least in Osaka anyway, I would find tons of Saturn and Dreamcast. Mega Drive in general was never particularly popular there, but on this trip, when I went to a lot of stores, I really didn't see much of any of it. Saturn being the most prevalent, but Even that, it wasn't super common anymore. Maybe it's just because of the Tokyo area, I don't know. But still, it was just interesting to observe. It was mostly like Nintendo and PlayStation stuff, with, you know, believe it or not, Xbox coming into a third, and Sega stuff coming into a fourth, which is kind of hard to believe, but was in my experience true anyway. There's a lot of insane treasures in those glass cases. If you guys saw towards the beginning, some of them are so rare that they just straight up say like, this is not for sale. You can't buy that. It's just for display purposes only. Nice big GameCube selection there. Some just random oddball titles here. Some OG Xbox, of course, cool to see. Lots of N64. I kept my eye out for Apple Pippin games. I was totally unsuccessful even here. The only Apple Pippin I've seen anywhere in Japan was in the Super Potato in Osaka. Look at this. A big wall of GameCube just hidden back there. An import in television, a Japanese in television right there. It was kind of funny to see that. But yeah, the Osaka Super Potato had an Apple Pippin, but absolutely no games. And this one had absolutely no games and didn't even have the console. Like, it's so rare over there, it's sick. And even and that's the place where it was the most common. So it kind of kills me because I still have that console and no games for it. But whatever. Cool Metal Gear Solid package thing there. It looks like it's autographed, although I'm not entirely certain by who. Super Potato t-shirts. And then just various random items there. Some Japanese Atari 2600 stuff, not for sale, super rare, you know. It's funny to see what becomes rare in certain countries and what doesn't, and what's considered common in other countries. But yeah, that is a quick look at Super Potato in downtown Tokyo and Akihabara. So if you'll stay tuned, we will go ahead and I will show you my pickups. So there it was, a look at the mythological Super Potato in Akihabara, Tokyo, Japan. I hope you guys enjoyed looking at that, and I'm going to show you my pickups now. It's pretty obvious there's something really special here, but we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm not going to lie though, I'm a tad surprised I ended up walking away with anything from there, because if you guys saw my videos of Super Potato back in Osaka, it's a spectacle, man. Tokyo, like the Super Potato in general, is not a place you actually go to buy things, because it's usually like insanely expensive. You go there if you want the really rare item and you've got the money and the desire to actually acquire it, or you go to just look at stuff. It's not the smartest place to go in to buy like a Super Famicom, you know what I'm saying? So I really wasn't expecting to buy much of anything at all, but I did walk away with some stuff, much to my surprise. So the first things I got were these. See this little cartridge? You recognize this? Any idea what this is? I didn't at first. A buddy of mine who I was hanging out with over there told me what this was, and I was like, holy shit, okay, that sounds awesome. So basically, here's the deal. This is a Super Famicom game. Like Super Nintendo. Same platform. This is a game for that. And if you're like, no, it's not. It looks totally different. That's impossible. I'm going to unsubscribe now. Just relax. I swear I'll explain. Why are you so hostile? Just, here's the deal. So basically, when the Super Famicom was in its prime, Nintendo, the way it would work is if a company had a game, they would, once they were done with it and they submitted it to Nintendo, Nintendo would then take that data and they would actually produce the cartridges themselves. So it doesn't matter who the developer was, it was EA, Ubisoft, or in this case Bandai, whoever it was, whatever game data they had, they couldn't actually make the game cartridges. They had to give it to Nintendo, and Nintendo would have to be completely responsible for all the hardware manufacturing of the cartridges. The result of that is that Nintendo couldn't really keep up with demand. There was a lot of different companies all in line to get their games made, and Nintendo only had so many chips to deal with. So in a very rare move, Bandai went to Nintendo and said, hey, would you allow us to make our own cartridges on our own for the Super Nintendo so you don't have to deal with it? You can still get your games, but you're not responsible for producing the hardware. It's not really in Nintendo's nature to say yes to stuff like that, but in this case, for whatever reason, they did. So what Bandai ultimately did was that they released the Sufami Turbo. The Sufami Turbo is a little add-on thing. It's basically a cartridge that allows you to take two other cartridges. They released that, and then they released their own library of games. And those games looked exactly like this. So basically what you would do is you'd plug one of these into slot 1, and then you could plug that into the console, and it would just play it straight up like a normal game. The reason that is a second slot, as you can see there in the picture, or saw in the picture, is that because Bandai was completely in control of that particular hardware and that particular software, they would allow their games to be cross-compatible with each other. So, for example, the first game I have here is SD Ultra Battle Ultraman Legend, and then the second one I have here is SD Ultra Battle 7 Legend. Now, what you could do is you could put one of these in slot A and one of these in slot B, and these two games happen to be compatible with each other. So you could play one of the games and extra content would be unlocked by virtue of the fact that you have the other game in the other slot. So there was a whole bunch of different games that were cross-compatible with each other, and the idea was that, you know, as time went on, they could expand upon that idea. Now, ultimately, Bandai only produced 13 games for this thing before they stopped doing anything with it. And right here alone, I have 5 of them. But again, I'll show you them all. I already showed you the first 2, but the other ones I've got are Gegegi no Kitaru, Sailor Moon Stars Mania, Poi Poi Ninja. Okay, so those are the 5 that I got right there at Super Potato. And that was really cool to get those. But again, that's 5 out of the 13 that exist. I mean, that's like, you know, you're most of the way there in the library at that point. So that's definitely cool. And the other thing that was really surprising about it is they were super cheap. That's the other thing about the Sufami Turbo in general, is that because most people don't really know about it, and it wasn't really that successful, it's not common at all, but it's not worth anything. So that's really cool. It's a weird little subsect of things to collect if you're into the Super Nintendo at all, or if you just like oddities in gaming. So definitely cool to get those. Like each of these, like I said, is like $4, and that's at Super Potato. You know, that's cool. These are probably overpriced by comparison of where I could have potentially found them throughout Japan, but I never saw them anywhere else. So good to have those. Now, moving on. We also have, what is this? A Neo Geo CD Front Loader. What? So if you guys saw my videos, again, at Super Potato in Osaka, I did mention specifically how I was looking for a Neo Geo CD and how cool that would be to walk away, especially from Super Potato. I think I actually said, like, if I could have walked away from Super Potato with anything, it would have been a Neo Geo CD. It just didn't happen. Well, in this case, I still didn't expect that to happen, but when I walked in, this was the first thing that caught my eye. Not because it was all dressed up nice and wrapped in plastic and all set to go. It was actually in the junk bin. Now, the junk bin, you have to understand, Japanese junk bins are a little different than ours. Our junk bins are usually actually junk. Theirs, typically, junk can mean anything. Typically, it's just like, oh, the controller's missing or the power supply's missing or something. I just don't want to deal with it, so just call it junk, because you know, there's going to be foreigners who come in and want to buy it, and we don't want them getting angry thinking that the thing, its minor problem is like a big deal. Like, so just call it junk, because we don't have, like, they speak Japanese. They're not going to have the language skills to like give you the minutia of what exactly the nature of the issue is. So just call it broken, call it junk, and if that's completely up to them if they can't read that. So in this case, it was labeled broken, and it only cost $18. These things are usually hundreds of dollars. Now, yes, it's true, it may not work. And if you're like, May, you don't even know? No, I don't know. And the reason I don't know is what I saw is what I got. This box is all I have. I have the capacity to test a controller. I have a controller for it. I have the appropriate, I could use composite cables, or I could even use an RGB star cable. I have all that. The problem is the power supply. I don't have that. SNK used a proprietary power supply on this thing, and I wouldn't even begin to know where to find one. So it's one of those things where I'm hoping either there's some sort of third-party option that comes up at some point, or maybe if I get to go back, I can look around and see if I find one this time. Because I found this near the end of the trip, so it's not like I was out looking about for specifically Neo Geo CD power supplies. Otherwise, I might have done that. On top of that, it might actually have other issues. Like the disc tray may not eject properly. The lens may not work at all. I don't know. But for $18, I was willing to take that risk on the Neo Geo CD. So there you go. Definitely cool, and hopefully I can get that running at some point. But yeah, that's my pickups from Super Potato and Akihabara, Tokyo, Japan. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Please stay tuned. I will be doing, of course, a video on Book Off, a very infamous Book Off, and of course, finally, Hard Off, a store that I always wanted to check out. And trust me, I got some cool shit at those, especially Hard Off. Hard Off was like, hard on. Okay, that was terrible. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all later.